One night in August 1994 in the town of Woodbridge, New Jersey, a single mother just wanted to buy late-night food for her 4 hungry young children. She walked along a dirt path more than 300 meters long to get to a convenience store, bought what she needed, and got ready to head back home. But Melissa Padilla would never make it home again. The body of the 25-year-old woman was found inside a concrete drainage pipe, her face disfigured, not wearing pants, and on her body remained strange bite marks with very distinctive features. These were not random bite marks from some crazed attacker, but the psychological signature of a killer with a deeply disturbed mind, a compulsive need he could not stop himself from acting on. The killer vanished without leaving a trace. The case went cold for 8 long months, until one day, a female police officer in Maine, hundreds of miles away, was brutally attacked with almost identical methods. Could this be the same killer's signature? Welcome to the Case Files, where we dive deep into the most haunting and mysterious real-life criminal cases in forensic history. Today, we're going back to 1994, to a small town in New Jersey, where a brutal murder shook an entire community. In this episode, we're taking a deep dive into the infamous case, Deadly Bite Marks, the Melissa Padilla case, and the two-faced killer. This is a story about a stalled investigation, about breakthrough forensic science, and about how a cold-blooded killer was exposed by the one detail he never thought would betray him: his own teeth. Part 1. Setting and main characters. Woodbridge, New Jersey, a working-class town. The town of Woodbridge in New Jersey, USA, in the early 1990s, was home to hard-working, blue-collar residents who worked tirelessly to make a living. This wasn't a wealthy or famous place, but people here generally felt safe and looked out for one another. Running through this area, US Route 1 North had many budget motels, convenience stores, and small dirt roads running parallel to the highway. However, in August 1994, that sense of safety completely shattered in the face of a horrifying crime. A killer had acted with complete freedom and absolute power right in the heart of this peaceful community. Melissa Padilla, single mother of 4. Melissa Padilla, 25 years old, was a single mother raising 4 young children between the ages of 2 and 5. Her family was receiving social assistance and had been placed by a social services agency at the Gem Motel on Route 1 in Woodbridge. She lived with her boyfriend, Jose Hernandez, also known as Hector Fernandez, who was 20. Melissa grew up in a family with 5 children, cheerful, emotionally rich, and always living with her heart wide open. Her family wasn't well off, but she always tried to rise above her circumstances. As a teenager, she fell in love with an older man, became pregnant, and had to drop out of school. Later, she had 3 more children with 2 other men. Despite all the hardships, Melissa always tried to be the best mother she could be for her children. Stephen Fortin, the two-faced killer. Stephen Fortin, around 30 at the time of the crime, grew up in Brick, New Jersey, in a working-class family. Everyone who knew his parents said they were decent people, but Fortin routinely bullied his friends, never apologized, and always blamed others when he was caught red-handed. By the textbook definition of someone with antisocial personality disorder, Fortin had been dodging the law since he was young. He had a history of violence, but details like him stabbing his brother to death cannot be confirmed from official court records. Later, Fortin met a woman named Anna David, and they lived near where Melissa would be murdered. In her statement, Anna described her relationship with Fortin as a nightmare. He had a terrible temperament and frequently assaulted her, especially when drunk. Anna did not want to stay, but fear kept her there. In August 1994, Fortin was living with his former girlfriend, Dawn Archer, at the Douglas Motel on Route 1, north of the Quick Check store in Woodbridge. Part 2. The Fateful Night. August 11th, 1994. The chain of events leading to tragedy. On the evening of August 11th, 1994, at around 9 p.m., Stephen Fortin and Dawn Archer left the Douglas Motel to visit a friend named Charles Bennett, who lived at the Five Oaks Apartments on the southbound side of Route 1, less than a mile from the Douglas Motel. This apartment complex was south of the Gem Motel, where Melissa was staying. Fortin and Archer walked along Route 1 and stopped at the Quick Check store to buy cigarettes. After arriving at Bennett's apartment at about 9 p.m., the three of them drank alcohol. Archer later recalled that she argued with Fortin, and Bennett asked them to leave. Around 10:30 p.m., Fortin and Archer left Bennett's apartment and continued arguing. After walking a short distance, Fortin turned violent, choking and kicking Archer. He threw her to the ground, and Archer ran into a nearby restaurant called Bud's Hut, screaming for help. At 10:32 p.m., a Woodbridge police officer responded to the call and arrived in the Bud's Hut parking lot, where they found Archer intoxicated, her face red and bleeding from the nose. Archer told police that her boyfriend, Stephen Fortin, had attacked her. However, she refused to sign a complaint against him. Police took Archer to the hospital, but she refused treatment. Around 11:15 p.m., Fortin returned to Bennett's apartment looking for Archer. Bennett noticed some scratches on Fortin's legs, but no scratches on his face. Fortin explained that he got scratched during the fight with Archer. He left Bennett's apartment a few minutes later. Fortin's route back to the Douglas Motel would take him through the area near where Melissa Padilla would be brutally attacked. Archer's and Bennett's testimonies placed Fortin near the Gem Motel and the Quick Check store at around 11:30 p.m. on August 11th, 1994. Melissa goes out for late-night food. At the same time, at around 11 p.m. on August 11th, 1994, Melissa told her boyfriend Jose that she was going to the store to buy food for their 4 children, who still had not eaten dinner. Melissa left the Gem Motel, walking along a dirt path about 1,000 feet long, roughly 300 meters, running parallel to Route 1 North to get to the Quick Check convenience store at the intersection of U.S. Route 1 North and Avenel Street. At 11:29 p.m., Melissa checked out at the store. She purchased iced tea, pizza, bread, 3 sandwiches, a candy bar, and coffee with a $20 bill, receiving 66 cents in change. She left Quick Check and started walking back along the path toward the motel. In the surveillance video, Melissa appears and leaves the store at around 11:30 p.m. This was the last time she was seen alive. The savage attack. On her way back, just minutes after leaving the store, Melissa was attacked. The assailant intercepted her on the deserted dirt path, about 500 feet from the Gem Motel, roughly 150 meters. According to police theory, still enraged after attacking his girlfriend and being interrupted by a passerby, Stephen Fortin was wandering the streets in a state of extreme anger. He saw Melissa walking alone at night, and she became the unsuspecting victim on whom he vented his rage. Fortin attacked Melissa with brutal force. He punched her several times in the face, breaking her nose and causing severe bruising on her face and chest. Melissa was dragged inside one of 4 large concrete pipes, 30 inches in diameter, about 76 centimeters, lying along the path. Blood evidence showed that the attack took place inside the concrete pipe. The attacker manually strangled Melissa until she suffocated. She was anally raped with forceful penetration, causing severe tearing. Notably, the attacker bit into Melissa's chin and left breast, leaving very distinctive bite marks. The nature of the crime was extremely abnormal, violent, and bore a unique signature. The killer had his own style. Standing before Melissa was a killer who was angry, cruel, and cold-blooded. After killing Melissa, The attacker left the scene, taking some clothing and one sandwich, then later decided to throw them away. According to officers, this behavior was highly bizarre. Right after attacking a young woman, he still thought about eating. A chillingly cold-blooded way of acting. Part 3. Discovery of the body and crime scene. The desperate search. When Melissa did not return after a long time, Jose Hernandez began to worry. At first he thought maybe Melissa had run into some friends or stopped to visit someone. But as time passed, with 4 hungry children crying and still no sign of their mother, Jose decided to go look for her. At around 1 a.m. on August 12, 1994, Jose, along with Antoine, the 5-year-old son of the motel clerk, 11-year-old Christopher, and their friend Trent Eubanks, walked along the dirt path Melissa usually took from the motel to the quick-check store. It was Antoine who first spotted Melissa's body lying inside one of the concrete pipes. Jose panicked, ran back to the motel, and immediately called the police. At 1:06 a.m. on August 12th, Woodbridge police officers arrived at the scene and confirmed that Melissa Padilla was deceased. The horrifying crime scene. The crime scene showed an extremely brutal attack. Melissa's body was found lying on her back inside the concrete pipe, her head facing west, her feet facing east. She was wearing a shirt, but no bra, and no pants. Her shorts were found on a nearby shrub with her underwear still inside, torn. Melissa's face was completely disfigured from the savage beating. Her nose was broken, and her entire face and chest were covered in bruises. Notably, police discovered clear bite marks on the victim's chin and left breast. These bite marks left a specific dental impression that could be identified. The autopsy showed that Melissa died from asphyxiation after being manually strangled. She was also anally raped with forceful penetration causing severe tearing. There were no traces of semen in her vagina, but forensic experts determined this was a sexual assault. Initial evidence. The first clues. At the scene, investigators collected several important pieces of evidence. A cigarette butt filter was found inside the concrete pipe near Melissa's body. This could be a crucial clue if it contained the attacker's DNA. The opened sandwich. Police found one of the 3 sandwiches Melissa bought at Quick Check, opened and discarded about 60 meters from the scene. This sandwich might contain DNA from the saliva of whoever ate it. Distinctive bite marks. This was the most important evidence. The bite mark on Melissa's chin had a clear shape, showing the attacker had 2 distinctive upper incisors, one with a dental crown that created a deeper indentation, and the lower incisors were perfectly aligned in an extremely rare way. The victim's clothing. Melissa's shorts were torn, showing the violence of the attack. However, despite having this evidence, the case quickly hit a dead end. There were no witnesses who saw the attacker. There were no traces of semen for DNA analysis. The cigarette butt and sandwich contained DNA, but in 1994, DNA databases weren't as widespread as they are today. If the attacker wasn't in the system, the DNA evidence was essentially useless. Part 4. The stalled investigation. The first suspects. Woodbridge police immediately launched a large-scale investigation. They interviewed everyone living in the area, especially people staying at the motels along Route 1. Jose Hernandez, Melissa's boyfriend, naturally became the first suspect. However, Jose had a solid alibi. He had been at home caring for the 4 children the entire time Melissa was out shopping. Moreover, Jose's character and his relationship with Melissa showed no signs of violence. Police removed Jose from the suspect list. Next, police checked all the men living in the area, especially anyone with a history of violence or sex crimes. They interviewed dozens of people, collected DNA and fingerprint samples, but no one matched the evidence from the scene. 1994 Forensic Technology, the limitations. In 1994, DNA analysis technology existed, but wasn't widely available. CODIS, the U.S. National DNA Database, had just begun testing and did not yet have sufficient data. Forensic experts analyzed the cigarette butt and the sandwich, extracting DNA from saliva. However, they found no matches in the limited database at that time. Regarding the bite marks, forensic odontologists created a detailed model of the attacker's dental structure. They determined that the attacker had two upper incisors, one with a crown creating a deeper indentation than normal teeth, lower incisors that were perfectly aligned in an extremely rare way, and a powerful bite force, indicating the attacker was in a state of extreme rage. But this dental model only had value when there was a specific suspect to compare it to. They could not examine the teeth of thousands of men in the area. 8 months without leads. From August 1994 to April 1995, the Melissa Padilla case hit a complete dead end. No new suspects. No witnesses came forward. Investigators were exhausted after chasing hundreds of leads that went nowhere. The Woodbridge community lived in fear. Police officers believed that as long as the attacker was still out there, anyone could become the next victim. But they were helpless, not knowing who they were looking for. Melissa Padilla had been buried. 4 orphaned children were taken in by relatives. The case was at risk of becoming one of those mysteries that would never be solved. Until one night in April 1995, in a state hundreds of miles away, a similar incident occurred and changed everything. Part 5. The Breakthrough. Attack on a female police officer. Maine, April 1995. Another fateful night. In April 1995, Stephen Fortin had left New Jersey and moved to Maine, where he worked at a shipyard. He lived in a boarding house and continued his violent lifestyle with a new girlfriend. One night in late April 1995, specifically on April 3rd, police officer Vicki Gardner was driving a patrol car on Interstate 95 in Maine. She was off duty, not in uniform, and driving home after visiting her parents. Suddenly, she saw a car parked on the roadside with its engine still running. When she approached to check, she noticed Stephen Fortin was intoxicated. Gardner called for backup over the radio, but after 45 minutes to an hour, no one arrived. That was when Fortin attacked. The fight for survival. Without waiting for Gardner to react, Fortin lunged at her with brutal force. He knocked her to the ground, choked her, and tried to drag her into the bushes, right there in her own patrol car. Vicki Gardner, professionally trained, fought back fiercely. During the struggle, Gardner tried to draw her weapon, but Fortin grabbed it. Fortunately, another car passed by, and the driver noticed the attack. The man stopped his car and shouted, causing Fortin to panic and flee into the woods. Vicki Gardner survived, but was seriously injured. Notably, clear bite marks were found on her body, identical to the bite marks on Melissa Padilla's body. Connecting 2 cases. After the attack, Vicki Gardner provided a detailed description of her assailant. Maine police quickly identified him as Stephen Fortin. He was arrested just days later. When dental impressions were taken from Fortin as evidence in the Vicki Gardner assault case, forensic odontologists discovered something astonishing. Stephen Fortin's teeth matched perfectly with the bite marks on Melissa Padilla's body. The 2 distinctive upper incisors, one with a crown, the extremely rare, perfectly aligned lower incisors, the powerful bite force. Everything matched. Maine police immediately contacted the Woodbridge, New Jersey police. When they compared the details of the 2 cases, everyone shuddered. The same method of choking and brutal blows to the face, the same signature of distinctive bite marks, similar victim profile of women alone at night, and the same level of brutality. Criminal behavior expert Robert Hazelwood. Prosecutors brought in criminal behavior analyst Robert R. Hazelwood from the FBI to examine the 2 cases. Hazelwood was one of the leading experts on violent sexual crimes at that time. After thorough research, Hazelwood identified 17 similarities in the offender's modus operandi and 5 identical ritualistic behaviors between the 2 attacks. These similarities included: both victims were women alone at night on deserted roads. Both were attacked by manual strangulation and savage blows to the face. Both had distinctive bite marks on their bodies, particularly on the chest and chin area, and both were dragged or pulled into an enclosed space where violent sexual acts were committed. Most importantly, the bite marks were not just physical evidence, but also the attacker's psychological signature. This was ritualistic behavior, expressing the attacker's rage and desire for absolute control. Hazelwood concluded that the likelihood that these 2 attacks were carried out by 2 different people was extremely low, almost impossible. However, the court did not allow him to state directly that the same person committed both crimes, because that final conclusion belonged to the jury. Bite mark evidence confirms the truth. New Jersey police immediately took dental impressions from Stephen Fortin and compared them with the evidence collected at the Melissa Padilla crime scene. Forensic odontologists used overlay techniques to compare the bite mark on Melissa's body with Fortin's dental model. The results showed an astonishing match. The crown on the incisor created a unique indentation, the perfectly aligned lower incisors, and even the angle of the bite all matched Fortin's teeth. Although forensic odontology cannot provide 100% certainty like DNA, when combined with the 17 similarities in modus operandi that Hazelwood identified, the evidence became extremely compelling. After 8 months of going nowhere, the case was finally solved. The killer of Melissa Padilla was Stephen Fortin, a repeat violent offender with a long criminal history. Part 6. Trial and Sentencing. Admitting to assaulting Vicki Gardner. First, Stephen Fortin had to face charges for assaulting police officer Vicki Gardner in Maine. With bite mark evidence, witness testimony, and other supporting evidence, Fortin could not deny it. On November 29, 1995, Stephen Fortin pled guilty to assaulting Vicki Gardner and was sentenced to 20 years in prison in Maine. This was his first sentence in this horrifying chain of crimes. Trial in New Jersey. Justice for Melissa. While serving his sentence in Maine, Stephen Fortin was extradited to New Jersey to face more serious charges: the rape and murder of Melissa Padilla. The first trial took place between November and December 2000, 6 years after Melissa was murdered. In court, prosecutors presented overwhelming evidence. Bite mark evidence. Forensic odontologists confirmed that the bite marks on Melissa's body were made by Fortin's teeth with a high degree of accuracy. Location and timing evidence. Testimony from Dawn Archer and Charles Bennett placed Fortin near the crime scene at the exact time Melissa was attacked. Behavioral evidence. The attack on Dawn Archer just hours before Melissa was killed showed that Fortin was in an angry and violent state. Modus operandi evidence. The similar tactics used in the assault on Vicki Gardner showed this was Fortin's signature. Expert testimony from Robert Hazelwood. 17 similarities and 5 identical ritualistic behaviors between the 2 attacks created a picture that was nearly impossible to dispute. Fortin's defense attorney tried to argue that bite mark evidence was not reliable enough. However, when combined with expert behavioral testimony, witness accounts, and other evidence, the jury had no doubts. In December 2000, Stephen R. Fortin was convicted of the rape and murder of Melissa Padilla. He was sentenced to death in New Jersey. Appeals and retrial. However, the story did not end there. Fortin appealed the sentence, and in 2004, the New Jersey Supreme Court overturned his death sentence due to errors in the trial process. A second trial was held in 2007. This time, with stricter procedures and more carefully presented evidence, Fortin was once again convicted and once again sentenced to death. But in 2007, the state of New Jersey abolished the death penalty. Fortin's sentence was converted to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. In 2010, at the final sentencing hearing, Stephen Fortin was officially given a life sentence with no chance of release. He will die in prison. In the courtroom, chillingly cold. According to reporters who were present at the trial, Stephen Fortin sat in the defendant's chair with a completely emotionless expression. He showed no remorse, no tears, no apology to the victim's family. When the sentence was read, Fortin only smirked slightly, as if none of it had anything to do with him. This was the textbook image of someone with antisocial personality disorder, incapable of empathy and lacking a conscience. Melissa Padilla's family sat in the gallery, clutching each other and crying. After 6 years of waiting, they finally saw justice served. But justice could not bring Melissa back. 4 children were still motherless. The wounds in their hearts would never fully heal. The victim impact statement from Melissa's daughter. In 2010, in a special hearing, Melissa's eldest daughter, who had grown up by then, faced Fortin and read her victim impact statement. She told him about the pain her family had endured, about the children growing up without a mother, and about a sense of loss that would never fade. Fortin just sat there, with no reaction. Conclusion and message. Lessons from the Melissa Padilla case. The Melissa Padilla case is a powerful testament to the strength of modern forensic science. Without bite mark analysis and behavioral profiling, Stephen Fortin might never have been caught. What's even more frightening is this: if Fortin had not attacked Vicki Gardner, if she had not survived to tell her story, if there had not been a passerby who intervened in time, Melissa's case might have faded into obscurity forever. And Stephen Fortin would have continued to walk free, ready to find his next victim. This case also shows how important it is to connect different cases. It was the uncanny similarity between the 2 attacks, hundreds of miles apart, that opened the path to solving the case. Without cooperation between Maine and New Jersey law enforcement, that connection might never have been discovered. Melissa Padilla, a brave mother. Melissa Padilla was only 25 years old when she was murdered. She was a single mother doing everything she could to raise 4 children in difficult circumstances. She was not wealthy, not famous, but she deserved to live. That fateful night, Melissa just wanted to buy food for her children. She walked alone at night, unaware that a killer was lurking. She fought to survive. Evidence showed signs of a fierce struggle. But in the end, she lost. Melissa's family hopes her story will remind people of the importance of community safety. No one should have to be afraid to walk down the street at night. No one should have to pay with their life just for buying groceries. Stephen Fortin, the killer, still alive. To this day, Stephen Fortin is still serving his life sentence in a New Jersey prison. He has no chance of parole. He will die behind bars. But the question remains, was Melissa Padilla his only victim? With such brutal and practiced methods, many criminal experts suspect Melissa was not his first victim. There may be other victims, in other places, that we don't yet know about. Police have reviewed unsolved cases in areas where Fortin lived, but so far have not found any confirmed connections. That does not necessarily mean they do not exist. Fortin has appealed many times, including appeals based on the argument that bite mark evidence is unreliable. But every attempt has failed. In 2020, the court once again rejected his request for a new trial. Thank you for following the Melissa Padilla case, one of the most heartbreaking and instructive criminal cases in New Jersey's history. If you found this story meaningful, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other real-life crime cases. Like and share, so more people can learn about Melissa's story. Leave a comment sharing your thoughts about this case, and above all, respect the victim. Melissa was not just a case file, she was a mother, a human being with dreams and hopes. And most importantly, always pay attention to your own safety and that of your loved ones. Walking alone at night always carries risks, especially in deserted areas. Always let someone know where you are. Trust your instincts. If a situation feels unsafe, leave immediately. Melissa Padilla never had the chance to escape. But you do. Use it. Rest in peace, Melissa Padilla. Your story will never be forgotten.